this week I came across an extremely difficult puzzle that I'd like to share with you. It's white to move into mating 2. I looked at this puzzle for the best part of 7 or 8 minutes and I just couldn't find an answer. I could find plenty of mates in 4, mates in 3, but mates in 2 just too difficult for me. But once you've shown, actually it does look quite simple. Now, the first thing I did notice in this position is that the pieces have great cooperation. The queen on a7 protects the bishop on e3, the bishop on e3 protects the knight on f4, the knight on f4 protects the bishop on e6. And there's also the king upon the h8 file. Now if we fill in the squares, these are protected by the white pieces. Firstly the queen, and then the bishop on e3. We can see that not only does the white pieces protect a lot of squares on the board, about half the squares, if not more there in fact, they restrict black's king movement. I mean, he's only got the e4, d6 and f6 squares to move to. So it does look quite a simple puzzle at first glance. Now let's get rid of that colour commentary and I'll just show you the mating 3 that I found. Well, I looked at this for a while and I was worried that the black king may try to escape to f6. So I brought my king down to g7. But now just simply king to e4. If the king came to d6, in fact we'll make that move, then this is a mating 2. Simply queen to c5. I had to think for a second then. Is checkmate. But if the king came to e4, then there is no mating 2. You have to make a bit of a waiting move almost. Or they have to be clever with it. Bishop to g4. And now if the knight was to move, say the knight came to g5, then his mate on d4. And if the king went back to e5, then the mate is on queen to e7, because we've moved this bishop out of the way. We've now got the queen protecting all 3 escape routes, as well as checkmating the king. But that was mating 3 and we're looking for a mating 2. So if you haven't got the mating 2, pause the video and try and work it out for a few moments. If you've paused, excellent. If you just want to see the solution, here it is. Well, the key move to make here, and this idea did crop up in my mating 3, is the idea of mating on this d4 square. If you play bishop to f2, a bit of a waiting move, what can black do? We've got a few options. The first option would be to move the knight, and if you move the knight to d4, the queen can simply take and it's checkmate. If you move the knight, say to g5, then we have the same outcome. The queen comes to d4. So knight moves out of the question. Now I've got the king moves. Well, what if the king comes to e4? Well, moving the bishop to f2 freed up the e3 square. I mean, the only reason that we couldn't, in the original position, just bring the queen down to d4, the black knight would take it away. So by playing f2, we can now bring the queen to e3. King e4 would lead to queen e3 and checkmate. What are the other king options? Well, he could try and take on f4, take the now undefended knight. That again just allows queen to e3. The king could try to escape via d4. Again we see this idea of queen c5. checkmate. And finally, the one I was originally worried about, which is king to f6, is no longer a problem because queen to g7 is checkmate. So I hope you've enjoyed this Chess.com podcast. I'm going to come back with an equally hard puzzle next week. Let me know how you got on. Thanks for watching Chess.com podcast.